Hey, welcome. Nice to see you. We are Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. I'm Les Jackson. That guy over there is Fred Staab, and we have he's waving to me. And we have a whole lot of automotive information to pass on today.
Yeah, we sure do.
Cold weather, nothing matters. Nothing matters. The auto industry just goes into high gear. I almost said top gear for it.
We actually have a story about Top Gear,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about that in a bit, right?
That's right. But we're going to talk about Honda and Nissan merger could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Nissan might have a hard time meeting the demands. I sure hope they do.
Yeah. It will be a big story. We'll cover that too. And new car buyers are going small for small vehicles thanks to big interest rates and sticker
Yay.
shock.
Yay!
Hey, I don't need that F700 anymore, dually.
No, you don't. You don't need it. And they went too far. The head of Jeep says its Wagoneer was just too expensive. Seems to me we said that too. So they cut the price.
Yeah, isn't it amazing what's going on at Stellantis? I mean, they're being
Yeah.
very open. They are talking about the failures, the abject failure of the former management, and how they're going to fix it immediately. I think it's refreshing.
It's great. I mean, it really shows that some people are in charge and they're saying, we're going to fix this and we're going to, deliver things that the customers want.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. Good news. And then Porsche rethinks making its Macan, or Macan, it sounds like a bird, all electric. They were going to make it all electric. Now they're thinking, hey, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Again, everybody's rethinking their electrics. So we expect things like this. And then we're going to talk tech and answer a question. Could high visibility clothing actually be dangerous for pedestrians? Now, that's kind of
Well,
a question. You sort of assume something and maybe it's not true.
yeah, this comes from an IIHS study, and it has to do with high visibility clothes, like with Scotch-Lite tape on them and things like that,
Hmm.
confusing sensors on
Yep.
the new pedestrian safety cars at night. So we'll talk about that. And yeah, because I always thought, but wearing a high vis vest at night if you were walking a dog or something's not a bad idea.
It seems like a logical thing to do, but
Maybe not. Maybe
maybe not.
technology is thwarting that. Who knows? Hey, let's get started with this Honda and Nissan merger story. You and I have been talking about it a lot since it came out. I mean, we started with the kind of the woeful story of Nissan sales,
That's
which have
right.
been terrible, right? And then now we were kind of interested in this Honda Nissan merger. It came out. It wasn't even discussed that much. It just happened,
It just
and
happened.
yeah, even the head of Honda was asked, "Well, what are the benefits of this?" He goes, "I can't think of any." But here's the
Yeah.
problem, Les. Here is the problem. What has happened is Honda is now laying down some requirements for the merger to happen, and one of them is they want Renault out of the deal. They want Nissan to buy out Renault's share and get them out of the deal. One problem with
Okay.
that, Nissan does not have any money to do that.
No, they don't. So how do you do that? Um, if well, I don't know. I mean, can they go to Wall Street or
I
and mortgage the company? I don't quite know how they can. Maybe they could have a promissory note of some kind from Renault.
I don't know, but in order to make that happen, and this is according to a Bloomberg article, if Renault currently, their stake in Nissan is valued at $3.6 billion.
Okay.
Nissan doesn't have that. They don't have half of that. So how are they going to do this? Renault currently holds 35.7% interest in Nissan, and this collaboration goes all the way back to 1999. So this seems like a big roadblock to me.
Well, it does, and Honda feels that it's that Renault, being a part owner of Nissan, comes as an undesirable foreign influence.
Nobody wants to be known as that, do they?
Well, I mean, but it's potential. There really isn't. I don't think there's anything political going on.
No.
They just want to sell cars. So
too many players. They think too many players, right? Too many egos. When you think about it, Honda wants to drive the bus. Nissan's in trouble. So some people have said Nissan jumped the boat, where they should have waited a bit. They had some new product coming in, Murano and the new Kicks, which apparently people are loving.
Doing great.
But maybe that they jumped the gun a bit and should have waited on this. Who knows? Maybe Honda's thinking that too, and they're like actively discouraging them. It's just conjecture.
I mean, where do you go from here? Do you just back off and say, okay, for the time being, we're going to stop talking about a merger and we're just going to sell products? And if we can build up the money, we'll buy ourselves back from Renault?
I don't know. Do you slow roll it? Do you say, hey, maybe it's not so much a merger, but we'll cooperate on some new product, maybe speed up hybrids into Nissan, and then reevaluate? I don't know. It seems when we talk about the next story, it seems like Honda's looking for a way out. And now that's just me saying this, but listen to this. They also said, Honda said, Nissan must triple profits to merge with Honda. And let's remember, in 2024, Nissan's profits fell by 90%. So that plus buying out Renault is those are two big roadblocks.
So when you have no profitability at all.
Yeah, you're negative 90.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I'm not a business manager, but it's very difficult to triple your profits in those conditions.
Yes, and it's called a financial Everest for Nissan.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Honda, by the way, financially, they're expected to earn roughly $9.1 billion in operating profit during the 2024 fiscal year. So who's driving the bus? It's pretty obvious by a long margin.
It's pretty obvious who owns the bus, too.
Yes.
Maybe that's why the president of Honda was answering that question originally of, well, I don't know.
I can't think of anything.
because frankly, I don't think I want to do it.
I'm beginning to feel that if these two stories, and they come from great sources, if these two stories are true, I don't see how this deal goes forward. I really don't.
I don't either.
And the only thing I can think of is it's sort of like buying a competitor so they don't compete against you. So, you know what I mean? Like, Honda will say, well, I'll buy more of the market share by owning Nissan. And caught in this, which is kind of sad, Mitsubishi's been kind of really clawing back. and coming back, getting
Yeah.
new product, getting accolades. But they're all caught up in this, aren't they? Because they're part of
Well, they
this,
are,
part of
and
Nissan.
they don't have any control of the bus.
No.
They're, in fact, they've missed the bus and they're running behind it.
Yes.
To continue the metaphor, and yeah, as you say, they've done nothing wrong. They're, in fact, they've done everything right in the past couple of years.
Well, and it's analogous to when GM went bankrupt and certain brands that were,
Yeah,
I think, doing okay, like Pontiac, got caught up in it, and they're like, "Hey, we got to cut brands," and guess what? You're one of them.
yeah.
So,
Oldsmobile, Pontiac.
yeah. So I don't know, but if it doesn't go through, what happens then? I mean, and Nissan is struggling on its own. Let's say they say, well, let's leave it status quo.
Well,
Nissan has some good things coming up. They have the hybrid Rogue coming up. As I said, they have Kicks, they have Murano. They have a great electric vehicle, the Area. I mean,
they
that's
do.
electric vehicles. We all know sales aren't that great of that.
Seems to me, and I don't know what profitability they have, but it seems to me Renault has incentive to keep Nissan afloat.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I don't know, though. I don't know what will happen or how this will play out. Just looking at these two things, if I was Nissan, you said, well, we want to merge and these are the two requirements, I would be like, obviously they don't want to merge because they
right.
know everything about us financially, and they know we don't have all that money to buy out Renault, and we don't have
Exactly.
we don't have any profits. We have negative 90. So
So yeah, but I just can't believe Renault would allow they've got a financial stake in Nissan. They just can't walk away from it. There'd be huge losses.
yeah, and we don't want to see them go away because Nissan has a
No.
great product. The Z, they have some great crossovers. They are, let's face it, one of the last full line manufacturers. They build sedans which sell well.
Yeah.
And they got out of the pickup. I mean, they lost a lot of money on the Titan. They got out of that market completely, which I'm sure was a huge loss. They were very proud when that came out, and it was a good truck, but it just didn't sell. I don't even know if they're. I guess that means they're out of the van business too, because they were building that
I
van
would say so. Yeah.
based on, and people bought a lot of those things. I remember seeing them with the ultra high roof. But it's sad. I just don't want to see them go away. I don't want to see Mitsubishi go away because it will be a two-shot there because Mitsubishi. Maybe who knows? It could be that Nissan goes away and Honda buys Mitsubishi. What about that?
Could happen. It could happen. Let's just. I'm going to hope that Renault will come in and be the Sir Lancelot and saving the damsel.
Well, let's just also remember that we've seen a lot of mergers go off the rails in the auto industry.
Yeah.
Daimler Chrysler, that didn't work that well.
Well, that was a takeover.
That was right. It was not a
It was
merger of
not a
two
merger.
equals, as
No.
they said. There was a takeover. And then, of course, Stellantis didn't work that well. Now they're fixing it, but they realized you can't manage an American car company from Europe. You really can't. It's a different market, and you can't say, "Well, I want it to be like Europe." You gotta. Here's the thing: it's ground shaking, it's deep business talk, less. But if people want V8 power rear wheel drive cars that do burnouts, and that's what you sell, then you sell them.
Then you sell them. Yeah, and just because you live at Lake Como in Italy and you're
or
having wonderful meals and elegant surroundings and quiet and the art scene, you still need to make the burnout car.
well, I think he was like embarrassed by them. I think he
Oh,
was,
I'm sure he was. Yeah.
you know, cars with bright colors and big stickers and loud exhaust and
Yep.
the brotherhood of muscle and all that. I think it irked him, but that's the thing. Remember, you're not building it for yourself. You're building it for people that
Exactly.
really want it. And when you forget that, then, well, you forget why you're in business. So, but anyway, what do you think? What do you think? Will this Nissan Honda merger go through? It's almost like Honda, I think, is just rethinking it. So
They're just
that's my
backing
take on
out.
it. Yeah, they don't really need Nissan, do they?
No, they don't. They're doing very well. Thank you very much. Um, so yeah, uh, maybe they just jumped into this thing and embarrassed themselves, and now they're saying, yeah, okay. But anyway, we'll get when we hear more. You'll hear more.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll have more on Cruise Control when we come back. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Stay tuned. Plenty more coming up. And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staab and Les Jackson. We are glad you are along for the ride. Les is rocking out here, so
Just, I'm really anxious to get into this story because I'm so disappointed.
I doubt that. I doubt that. There's a new study out that says people are switching to smaller vehicles, switching
Yes.
away from three-row SUVs and large pickup trucks, unless they actually need them, and getting into more affordable and smaller vehicles, such as the Chevy Trax or even the Chevy Equinox. And the reason is high interest rates, high payments. By the way, most people pay $1,000 a month for their payments now.
Woo.
And this people are saying you can get a lot of nice vehicles for certainly under $40,000 and certainly probably under $35,000 or right around that number, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd say the bulk of middle class vehicles are in the of the 300 or so different vehicles you can buy are in that $30,000 to $40,000 range. And no, you're absolutely right. This is uh, a great shift, a great trend that's showing up because you and I have been preaching for so long about, do you really need an SUV? Do you really need a pickup truck? What about a sedan?
Right?
They're safe, they're reliable, they're cheap to run,
Yeah.
cheap to own,
Yeah.
and people are, for whatever the reasons, obviously it's financial decision.
Right.
They're getting into these things, but I will bet you any amount of money they love them once they have them.
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, way back when I used to have big vehicles. I had a full-size van and full-size cars, and I got a smaller car and I loved it because it was easy to park and you didn't have to worry about it, and
Yep.
it was just easy easy peasy. So I don't know. Will this trend continue? If so, what do manufacturers do?
Well, if you're a full line manufacturer, you sit back and rake in the money. If you have decided, like our friends at Ford, uh, the only sedan you're making is a Mustang, you're now you know you got to have a whole lot of late night meetings.
Well, let's look at another vehicle people are really switching to, the Chevy Equinox. It was redone for 2025, all new. You load this thing up, it's hard to get it over 40. But if you're replacing, let's say, a Tahoe, now that's 50 or more. So you think about this, in most cases, this will do everything everyone needs to do
That's right.
without, without. I bet there's a lot of people that have three-row SUVs and they never unfold the third row seat. There's some
Yeah,
people that use them, I know that, but there are probably some that don't. And they might not even know there's a third row there. It's
yeah.
folded up.
They bought it for the one time a year that the in-laws come into town, and you have to put everybody in the car. And I know people like like that. So yeah, they're buying too much vehicle because everybody else is buying. Not everyone, but a whole lot of other people are buying too much vehicle.
Yes.
So there's so many to choose. Take your time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And set a number and you can achieve it. You can achieve it because there are a lot of vehicles, as I said, in that sub $40,000 range. That $40,000 used to be
That's
upper entry level luxury. Remember that?
absolutely that was, and we're talking about maybe what 5 or 6 years ago. It was that recent.
Right. And that's
So
that's right.
I
Now,
and
you
I
know,
think
yes.
the other effect of this, and I'm going to make a prediction.
All
Um,
right.
I'm frequently wrong,
No, but
but
make a prediction.
but my prediction is the used car lots, the CarMaxes and the Carvanas and all those are in 3 or 4 years are going to be filled with big SUVs and pickups, um, because the people have turned them in for something smaller.
Interesting. Interesting. And that affects the value of them and
Yep.
resale and all that. Yeah. I, I think that it makes sense. It makes sense. And as a follow on to this, remember we started out by saying Stellantis. It's really refreshing to see this. They are very introspective and they are very open, very transparent. Um, they basically admitted that they went too far with the SUV pricing, that the Wagoneer L and the Wagoneer lineup just got out of control with a starting price of almost $65,000 for a two-wheel drive Wagoneer. And when you top it all off with a Grand Wagoneer with all the goodies in it, it jumped over 90 and would jump into uh, over $100,000 quite
The
easily.
the I had one and reviewed it about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and it was $113,000,
That's
and
crazy.
it was lovely inside, but wow.
Yeah, I mean Bob Broerdorf, who came back also, who is the head of Jeep North America, said um, he was speaking at the 2025 Detroit Auto Show. He said he was vocal about Jeep's move upmarket and how it damaged trust with consumers and dealers alike. He adds, that's such a fine line on where to go, he told us. Creating demand in a market, you want one less car than the market wants. Not 1,000 less, not 1,000 more. So there's subtlety there. And basically they're cutting the prices on these things by as much as $3,000 or $4,000. Now I take that back. Wagoneer is now $3,000 to nearly $6,000 less, depending on the trim level. The Grand Wagoneer got a $7,000 price cut, and now starts at a very svelte $86,945.
Oh, well. Now the fact is, we know that they can easily cut these prices because we know pretty closely what their profit margins are in them. So this is great. They're looking at this. They're saying, all right, look, we can still make plenty of money by cutting the prices and keeping our customer base or enlarging the customer base.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. So I just think, as you said earlier, that just the sheer reaction to Carlos Tavares leaving Stellantis has been an avalanche of new management, new ideas, old ideas coming back. This is great.
Well, I mean, not too many CEOs or heads of brands would say, "Hey, we got the pricing wrong, and that was a bad move, so we're going to fix that." Obviously, they can't make a Grand Wagoneer into a $50,000 truck. It would just be a frame sitting there. But let's remember, they also repriced the Gladiator, Jeep Gladiator, and I think they regret getting rid of the Cherokee, and I think they regret not having some less expensive vehicles in there. There's another thing about Broderdorf. He likes the Avenger, which is a small vehicle, Jeep that I guess is Fiat based, that's sold around the world. He thought that would be great to have. Well, yeah, because it gets people into the brand for less money, and why not? I'd like something like the Jimny that Suzuki sells, and that I think this Avenger would be sort of like that. But they are rethinking this. Apparently, if they left Tavares in charge of Stellantis, he would have destroyed Jeep even, because the guy had no idea what he was doing.
Oh, that would be really, just imagine that. Imagine that. A brand that has loyalty right on a par with Porsche and Ferrari in terms of owners, customer loyalty. And he could have just blown it away.
Yeah. And, of course, Tim Kuniskis, who is the head of Ram, said getting rid of the Hemi was un-American. I love it.
Well, because burnouts and loud exhaust systems, that's America.
That's a light 'em up. Yeah.
That's right. So, that's why they love us so much overseas.
Yeah. I think Tavares was embarrassed by that. And
yes, I mean, as he would say, this isn't me. In polite society, we don't do these sorts of things.
That's right. But you run Dodge, it's not necessarily polite. And people are glad it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I am over the days of burnouts and loud exhausts.
But there's a market for it.
But I am well understand that an awful lot of people aren't over it. And all I ask is that they just do it in enough of a controlled way that, you're not going down somebody's street at 2:00 in the morning and doing it.
Yeah, in a responsible way.
Responsible way.
Yeah. Well, besides high prices, you have this idea this is an article from The Drive. Young people would rather have mobility solutions than own a car. And you and I couldn't wait to own cars. I owned a car before I could drive it. I think you did too, right?
I did. I bought one at 14. I couldn't drive and even get a learner's permit till I was 15, and I put 400 miles on it back and forth in my parents' driveway.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that's a great idea. If someone wants a car, get them it ahead of time. They work on it. They start to like it. That way, they're not going to
Yep,
go out and wreck it. Many in high school, they must have wrecked like 20 or 30 cars. People did.
absolutely, because they don't appreciate what they've got.
Yeah, and they're not
Don't
used
have
to
to.
the power and I thought, why would you wreck it? Why would you wreck any car? But that's just me. I'd rather fix it and clean it up and drive it around. But anyway, so according to this article, Deloitte did this, right? That
Right.
they ask respondents from India, China, Southeast Asia, the Republic of Korea, Japan, Germany, the UK, and the US. Would they be open to giving up cars if there was a compelling transportation solution available to them? Among the options would be autonomous taxis, a decent car and bike share network, and a robust public transportation, collectively known as mobility as a service or MaaS. So they asked 4,240 respondents. Out of that, 2,121 individuals were open to giving up private vehicles, but doesn't say where these people lived. So if you
No,
live in a big city, yes, you might have options, right?
sure. But if you don't, your options are much more limited. Give up the bicycle, um, unless it's a perfect day and you're only riding a mile or two with it.
Yeah.
When you look at these movies from World War II, and when you see people walking uh,
Yeah.
to distances and taking a bicycle uh, to their work, they were doing it because they had to do it.
Yeah. They
Uh,
couldn't, especially during the war, they weren't building cars.
yeah,
So they couldn't get them.
and I was when I was 14, before I bought my car, I took buses, and I hated the
Yeah.
buses.
You're on someone else's schedule. Yeah.
Well, that's right. It wasn't the bus. It was the fact that I had to wait for the bus and then transfer out of that to another bus that I had to wait for, and
And it's
uh,
snowing.
it
You're
it wasn't
walking 10
efficient.
miles in the snow to
Oh yeah.
school.
Well, I've always said yes. Oh, back in my day, I used to walk out of my front door and over to my car and get in it.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
you're right, Les. You're right, Les. It all depends. I mean, yes, I we have friends that have teenagers or even in their young 20s, and they're like, one will want to drive. Let's say they have two
hmm
kids. One wants to drive and got the license right away, like you and I did. I remember the day it came in the mail. I was like, holy smokes,
Yep.
look at that. That's big. Um, and I sat there looking at it and I thought, yeah, I can legally drive a car. I was blown away by it. I still like driving. I still like saying, oh, I'll just run
Oh
down
yeah.
there and to the store and get that. But then there are others that have no interest, and parents are encouraging them because they say, hey, you might have to drive sometime. You might fly somewhere on a trip, and there's no easy way to get somewhere, or you don't want to take a $1,000 Uber to go to the
That's
campground you're
right.
staying at, right?
And it builds for kids. It builds social skills. You pick up your friends. You go to school. You go to the movies. You whatever. You're. It's freedom.
It's freedom, yeah. But that's
You know.
us. That's us.
Well, that's
I don't.
us, and apparently that's not the way a lot of people think anymore. That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, there are still enthusiasts that are in their teens that like cars and want to take a car and build it up. I mean, watch YouTube. There's a lot of young men and women that are, interested in taking stuff and making it better or customizing it or whatever. So, but just take driving seriously. That's important. It's a thing that you have to pay attention to. So
It is, and these days you do have to be very, very careful out there because it's like everyone's trying to hit you.
it does feel
It's,
that way. It's almost
it
like
really does.
I felt at times that people can't see me or something in the car.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
pulling out. I don't like they don't come to a stop. They keep rolling. So it's like, are they
yeah.
stopping or are they just going to keep rolling? That annoys
I
me.
have, yeah, I can't tell you how many times when I've been driving and I've got somebody with me and somebody cuts me off or, multiple times I constantly say, well, we must be wearing our invisibility cloak again today. We got to turn that switch off
Yes.
because it's that common.
Yes. It is that
But,
common.
that's the world we live in. So,
That's the world we live in. Hey, I want to mention one thing before we take a quick break. Peterson Automotive Museum is hosting a cruise-in to help support fire recovery out in L.A. And it's the details about it are the charity cruise-in is open to all vehicles, makes, and models. Show car tickets are $50 and include general admission to the museum, complimentary bagels, coffee, and show car parking. You can also just go and see the show for $50, and it includes a general admission ticket to the museum. Great stuff. Really great stuff. You should head on over to www.peterson.org/events/January Cruise In 2025. That's going to happen on Sunday, January 26th. It sounds like a fun event and a great cause.
There's so many things like that going on to help out everyone in LA. It's a catastrophe that's hard to describe. And if you're a classic car collector or interested in them, an awful lot of those houses had classic cars in those garages, and they're gone. They're gone forever.
Yeah, I did see.
Not that that's anywhere near as the
as the
equal
loss
to
of life.
losing everything you've got.
But it is sad. I saw a fastback
Very
Mustang. You could still see it was a fastback Mustang 66, I guess, but it was charred. There was a great story where a guy had a huge collection, Gullwing, Mercedes, and a bunch of other vehicles, and he literally drove, I guess he had help, he drove them all down to a parking lot like in McDonald's and parked them in a row to get them out of the fire zone. I guess he had help. I mean, if you were standing there, I'd want to help him and drive him. But I mean, to do it all one by one. But he wanted to keep them safe, and he did. And for a short time, it was like there was a car show in the McDonald's lot, But
and there's a viral photograph. It is not fake. Of a totally burned out street. I mean, it's huge. And right there in the front of the photograph in the middle is a pristine 1970 VW bus.
Wow.
And it's perfect. And this woman that owns it said that she ran away in her other car and just left it there on the street. But if you look at the other side of it, it's scorched. And some of the trim has been burned off, but it's still perfectly drivable. But here is this strange, comparison of burned out everything around it, and yet the fires didn't destroy it.
Yes. There was also a story of a guy that had a Tacoma pickup, and he left it in his a recent pickup, maybe 10 years old, and he ran, because his house caught on fire, and he had no keys. So the dealer made him a key free of charge, and he went back. The front was melted, the headlights and the grill and the plastic parts on the bumper. He's put the key in it, started it right up, and has been driving it around. And he said the grill is all melted. He said, when I get back to normal, I'm going to get the headlights fixed and the bumper and stuff, but I'm going to leave the grill as a remembrance of what it went through.
And at least you've got something to use
And it was
for mobility.
It was a white truck. Now the paint's scorched, and he says it looks like a toasted marshmallow. But tough truck. That's good. He said everything works on it. It's just plastic parts were melted, So I would definitely rebuild it, wouldn't you?
Oh, I would too. I wouldn't stop.
Yeah. So there you have it. Well, we're going to take just a little break and be right back with more Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Stay tuned.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. We are rolling down the road here. And for a little while, Fred, why don't we roll in a Porsche Macan?
Yeah, why not? I think it's a good thing to do. Big story, of course, has been the changeover of what people were doing. They were all excited to go completely electric on the Macan, and they looks like that might not be the case now, right?
Well, that's right. Well, I think they're facing reality that there isn't right now. There isn't enough demand for pure electric vehicles. So, if you want to build it, you have to face not being able to sell as many as you could of other powertrains.
Yes.
And, Porsche, if nothing else, they're all about powertrains.
They are all about powertrains. Yeah.
And good ones and great handling.
Yeah. So the insiders, the Porsche insiders, spoke to Autocar publication in Europe and claimed the company is rethinking its strategy to replace internal combustion engine offerings in vehicles like the 718, the Macan, with EVs. And they said they're exploring the possibility of equipping some of the originally planned electric models with hybrid drives or internal combustion engines of the future. This has been such a huge shift for manufacturers. It's been costly because they planned for these things to be electric, but it's good that they're adapting to the market, isn't it?
It is, and it also shows you how good the engineering is in these companies. These aren't the only people that are making these changes. And I just am really impressed at how quickly the engineers can jump into this thing and say, hey, give me 6 months. We'll be able to put something out that people will like.
Well, do they run scenarios, Les, where they say what ifs? I mean, things.
I guess, yeah.
Do manufacturers do that? Like, we're not going to build this. I mean, I know GM did. Like, what if we put a V8 in a Chevy Cruze or something like that? But that's a little ridiculous, I guess, that example. But here, I think they might do studies like, what if we put or kept a gas engine in this model, Or what if we had to put a hybrid in? How would we build that?
I think as opposed to having, professional naysayers on your team, which is always good. There's always good to have somebody who says, well, hang on, what if this doesn't work? But I think if they don't have that, certainly the engineers, when they're putting these, getting ready to put out a product, they do a lot of thinking about what else will fit in this.
Hmm.
In the event that maybe they want to make a different product or they need to change um, parts of the drivetrains as before they put it out. So that's the brilliant part when you
They're
see the production engineering.
they are corporate hot rodders, basically.
Absolutely. Oh, I would just I would just love to be
Let's
one of the
take this
people.
drivetrain and shove it in here and see how it
Yeah,
fits. And it's like, yeah, we'll just cut whatever you need to out of the way, and
that's it.
we'll.
I'm into as you know, I'm into cutting and fitting. I'm
You
doing
were
it
just
literally all the time.
you were cutting
Yesterday,
and
in fact.
fitting Cobra pedals, right?
Absolutely.
More room in the
Yesterday.
foot box. A bit better because what was happening? You would press the accelerator,
Well,
brake,
I
and
mean,
clutch.
it's the real thing. So you only have, and I'm not kidding, you only have this about a 14-inch wide space
Wow.
for the clutch and the brake and the accelerator pedal. And if you have shoes, wide shoes, you couldn't do it. Plus, they
If you
were real
have
close.
shoes, yeah.
If and it's a British car and British, and I'm not saying all, but British tend to be more slender, lanky, smaller,
Oh, there comes a big
taller.
brush.
So, well, it is a big brush, but they're built for different size people,
They
and
wear thinner width shoes.
exactly, and you learn to drive a Cobra either in bare feet or with deck shoes.
Oh, okay.
But they're not. So all we wanted to do was move the brake and clutch pedal over about an inch and a half and forward about an inch and a half. So we were able to do that with
No,
nice, big, thick, bent metal pieces that were another person had put us onto that someone had made.
no, very cool. Very cool. Let's talk a little tech, shall we? This is a little offbeat, this story, and it involves pedestrian safety systems. Okay. And many people, when they go out walking at night, which I think is a good idea, they wear high visibility clothing. Maybe something with Scotch light on it, which is a 3M product
Right.
that reflects light. Um, Maybe yellow vest, whatever. I think it's a good idea. I always thought it was a good idea because you can't see. Have you ever, on a rainy night, some guy wearing a black hat and a black coat with black
That's
pants? You can't see him.
always, always. We see them always around here.
Yeah. So this is an interesting study from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. And it suggests that some automakers need to adjust their pedestrian automatic emergency braking systems because they're being thrown off by this kind of reflective or high visibility clothing, and that it's drawing the car to it. It's actually having the reverse effects on it. And the tests were run at 25 miles an hour with no roadway lighting, with 10 lux of illumination in the crosswalk, or the federally recommended 20 lux of illumination in the crosswalk. And the dummy crossed the track perpendicular to the path of the vehicle. The CRV and the CX5 hit the dummy in 84% and 88% of the test runs, respectively, while the Forester avoided a collision in all but one trial. Neither the CRV nor the CX5 slowed at all when the dummy was wearing clothing with reflective strips that articulated it on its limbs. So, why is
This
this causing this? I don't know.
Well, if the sensors, obviously they have sensors, if they're picking this up, I guess the sensors are it are saying computer lingo. Um, okay, this is a reflective tape on the highway, or this is a reflective tape on a sign, so I ignore it.
Oh, that's an interesting thought, that this is just a reflecting stop sign, not some guy's arms and legs
Right.
moving
And
around.
yeah, so it doesn't perceive, just like a person wouldn't perceive it. It doesn't perceive it's moving. It probably perceives it when it hits it. Um, but uh, this is pretty scary.
Yeah, the IIHS said that it basically confuses the sensors somehow. Uh,
Yeah.
um, but hats off to them to look into this issue. What a bizarre issue. When
I,
you think about it, it's like it's a good idea to wear bright clothes and reflective clothes.
yeah, where this is a thing for me because around the DC area here, everybody, there's no such thing as a pedestrian, you know, cross light. I mean, they have them, but people cross the streets,
Anywhere.
whatever. And and they're always in dark clothing. I mean, you rarely see anybody in a white jacket
Uh huh.
or even white tennis shoes.
Yeah, or a
So
light colored hat,
yeah, I
anything.
mean, it's hard enough for us to see them,
Yeah.
much less the vehicle. And this is something that some real study needs to be done, and how to teach the sensors to look for motion as well as reflection.
Yeah. I people around here, they when they're walking their dogs, they wear headlamps, which I think is good.
That's good. That's
My
good.
neighbor has a 90-pound black lab. When he walks him at night, I can't see the lab. I hear him
Yeah.
as like, "Oh, hi," a very friendly dog. But yeah, I said he disappears at night. But if you're wearing a black coat and a hat and a scarf, you're invisible. And I always thought it was good to wear this reflective stuff. But I guess IIHS will get to the bottom of this, right?
And they'll have recommendations, which will be very good. That's what they're there for. And it's probably just some minor tweaking of the software. Again, I'm not a software engineer, so I might just be assuming something that's not true. But
Yeah, yeah,
it sees it; it just doesn't recognize it as.
yeah. As something to avoid, it almost attracts itself to it. So it's a weird scenario. Yeah. Well, here's another interesting story. It comes to us from Motor One. I'll call it BMW exhaust tip honesty. Audi went through this. I'm hoping Volkswagen does. It's a pet peeve of mine, fake exhaust outlets. That is a pet peeve. It's like peel and stick customization. It's like the people putting the ports on the side of their car, right? Just peel it
Mhm.
off, slap it on, typically crooked, and there you have it. But BMW says it will not put fake outlets on the exhaust. They will have to be real. They'll keep the quad tips on the M models that are genuine, active, hot tips, as they're called, because their exhaust is coming out. They
Right.
will abandon fakes, and if the exhaust doesn't go through the rear bumper, they will not put anything there. They'll just have it hidden coming out under the bumper, which is fine. I just hate fake exhaust outlets. I don't think they
Um,
look good. Volkswagen's been doing it a lot, and I hate them. I would put like a
full
reflector in there or something as
full
opposed
disclosure here.
peel and stick.
My brand new 2025 Kia K5 has beautiful exhaust ports down at the base of the rear, and they're fake.
Oh,
The exhaust actually is right behind them, and it's
pointed
pointed
down.
down at the ground.
Right.
Um, so I don't care myself. I don't care that it's fake. I don't care that if it wasn't fake. It's just part of the styling. But I can see where if you have something that is designed to really look like an exhaust, coming out, then that's just stupid. That goes back to the old J.C. Whitney days.
Peel and stick.
We don't want to return to that.
I have page number 734. It's it's next to the wolf whistle that you put on the carburetor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
On sale.
Yeah, on sale and guaranteed not to fit. But
that's right.
I don't know. This is a big thing. I think everything should be functional. I always thought that about hood scoops. They should be, if you're going to put them on
Absolutely.
your hood, they should be
Yes.
functional. Slats, heat extractors. I always look when I get a car. Are these functional? Yep, they are. Great. I just think add-ons that don't work are dumb. That's just my thought.
I agree. They are dumb.
And it's like the guy with the Honda Civic with the top fuel style wing on the on the trunk lid. I always love those guys. They do that. They put that on there, and then they keep
Yep.
the skinny steel wheels with the plastic wheel covers. It's a nice look, don't you think?
It's a lovely look. It doesn't fool anybody, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, interesting is a word. I just
It is a word.
I that was always a thing. It annoyed me as a kid. Some guy would have different wheels on the front and the back of the car, or he would have customized the car with fender flares, and then he's got skinny tires on it. It just, I don't know. It's just something about it. But hey, me and fake exhaust ports, I just don't like them. But
And I realize we're coming to the end of the show here, but the best I ever saw years ago was a guy coming down the street with huge drag slicks on the back wheels of a Toronado, which was a front-wheel drive car.
yeah, that is
Yeah.
great.
That
And
was just so good.
And I'll admit, because there was a short time there in drag racing where they were racing front wheel drive cars. I remember it. I remember that the tuner, there were tuners. And I often said, I have no problem with like a 4-cylinder that you turbocharge and you make it have 600 horsepower. But in drag racing, I think you should drive the rear wheels because of the physics of the power squat and
That's right. That's
and
right.
it's going to plant the back end and push it down on that critical launch. I said, and it just frankly looks better. I said, I have no problem with that of 4-cylinder, but I have a problem more with what wheels you're driving. But hey, anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control with Fred Staab and Les Jackson. Time for me to say, I'm going to see you down the road.
Bye.